This is Module 3, SPED interviews. I teach at a high school, and we have 6 administrators in the on campus. I should say in the building. We don't have a building. We have multiple buildings like a small college campus. We have 6 administrators. The only paraprofessionals we have for special education are in the functional skills and adaptive functional skills classes. And then the SPED teachers we have are the ones I talk to, basically do 9, 10, and 11th grade. We do have some that do seniors, but I didn't get a chance to talk to them. I kind of had to mix it up and get answers from everybody on various things. We just kind of got hit in the wrong time. State testing and other stuff hit us. So I've kind of mixed these things together because each person has a slightly different opinion or role on things. So the child find procedures, in all honesty, our principals had really no idea how it all works. They've all been high school principals, and they've never really ever that anybody could remember have to do an evaluation of a student in high school. They'd always been identified before they got there. The paraprofessional had no idea what I was talking about because they just have really specific jobs that they're doing. Any students that are in functional skills, they've been in there basically since those kids have started school. And the SPED teacher I talked to, she has never had one at our school in the 8 years she's been at our school. So that goes to show that in high school, at least where we are, the child find procedure does not really pertain to us. Um, what everybody said would have to happen would be they would have to talk to our special ed advisor for the board, and she does us in a few other schools, and she would definitely know the procedure and be able to guide us on that. But people were mostly unsure about that. The most challenging part of their job is the principals mostly think they're oblivious to what's going on with special ed. We have a campus of over 2,000 kids, and we have, I believe, over 65 teachers on campus, and then the multiple staff and everything. So it's really, really hard for them to keep up with things. Now, we have one liaison. One of our administrators is a liaison for special education, and she is more on top of things. But even then, unless we're keeping her in the loop about things, they're really oblivious to what's going on. The paraprofessionals theirs was uncertainty because they deal with students as one-on-ones. They're never certain of what kind of behavior that kid's going to come in with that day. They may come in and they'll be happy as a lark and everything goes good that day. They go through their activities like learning to brush their hair or sorting money or that kind of thing. And the next day they come in and the para does nothing but sit in a room with them. And the kid has to go through calming procedures all day long until the parent ends up having to come pick them up. It's a very, very hard thing for them. In part for SPED teachers, I'm a SPED teacher as well in the building, so the most challenging part that everybody said was progress. We have a hard time having students who are in the first percentile in reading and math make progress. Their social skills are too much, and their IQ is too high to be a functional skills student. But some of them cannot read, and some of them have been with interventionists and intensive programs, and it's just not happening for them. And that's the hardest part for us is having those students make measurable progress. The most rewarding part, the principals say, the daily activity of the functional skills students. Our functional skills classes are very, very active, especially one particular teacher in the way she has the activities for students. They make copies for teachers. They run errands. They have cookie sales. They collect the money from the vending machine. They stock the vending machine. They do various other jobs around the school, and those kids are always active. It's in our main building where our principal is, and those kids are and everybody loves them. They're always happy. So that part is the most rewarding for the principals. The paraprofessionals said the most rewarding part is when the students are having a good day. There's no, tantrums and fits or, having to put students in various physical positions to restrain them to keep them from hurting themselves or other people. A good day is when a kid comes in and is willing to work and is happy and those kind of things. And for us as SPED teachers, everybody says just when a student gets it, that's the most rewarding part. You've been talking about something for some time, especially the math teachers mentioned this. you're going over the same stuff day after day after day, and the light bulb finally goes off, and that's the most rewarding part. Advice on the supervision. Principals believe that understanding SPED law is the most important thing um, for supervising special ed. Just that your teachers need to understand the law and how everything works. The paraprofessional said more support from the principal. A lot of times our paras are just kind of invisible to just about everybody except for the SPED teachers. Now, I do know some of them like it that way. They're a very sectioned off kind of part of the school. They're kind of over in the corner of the campus. And they really only deal with SPED people. The few teachers they deal with, and I directly talk to them just because I feel as though they're part of the team. So they do prefer that way, but they also would like a little more support from the administration. And as far as us SPED teachers, we would like to have more support. We feel like we get put on the back burner a lot. We're the afterthought of everything going on. And I mean, with a school of 2,000 kids and then our SPED population's a little over 200, we are kind of seen as the afterthought because graduation rate is very, very important at my school. I believe last year we graduated 98.5% of our students, which that's a major thing they take a great deal of pride in. And of course, our SPED students are included in that. A lot of them graduate, and in the state of Tennessee, there's only one avenue or two avenues. It's a diploma or not. There's no kind of vocational diploma. There's no thing they really call a SPED diploma. They're just, you either get it or you don't. So they really try to push our kids to doing that and being more visible. We have a hard time getting our administrators to spend a lot of time in our SPED meetings, and that's hard for us. They're just not visible sometimes. They'll be visible when somebody's talking about due process or kids getting in trouble. They like to jump on that really quick. But other times, when we're dealing with certain things, they're not always visible. And I think that would be the best advice that we would like is them to be supportive and to be visible. Effective work with parents. I think the principals say, stay calm and don't jump to conclusions because parents will come in, and I've witnessed this last year and this year. Parents will come in and be very, very upset. And they will be extremely upset over sometimes small things that the student has went home and the student miscommunicated what happened, what the teacher said. Parent comes up, gets very upset, and then if an administrator immediately gets upset, we have a huge problem. Especially with a special education parent because, a lot of times, at least in my experience, a lot of times a special education student may very well have a special needs parent as well, some shape, form, or fashion. I'm not saying by any means that's always the case, but in my experience, it's happened a lot. But just don't jump to conclusions about their intentions and stay calm. The paraprofessionals, they just try to stay courteous and professional. They're not on salary. They're on an hourly pay. They're seen as expendable. So, they said, I just try to be courteous, say as little as I need to say to get through a situation. And the SPED teachers said, dealing with parents, you have to be patient and you have to be knowledgeable. As soon as a parent feels like you are not knowledgeable about what's going on with their kid or knowledgeable about special education, then, man, you've really set yourself up for some failure. And again, being patient because sometimes the parents come in, especially freshman parents, come in with an idea about what they think things should be like from middle school. And we really have a shift from middle school to high school, especially in special ed, because we notice that the students have been babied a great deal. Just been babied a lot in middle school. I mean, a lot of stuff's just done forms, things, turn in this work and everything's going to be okay. They're not, at least that's our experience. So being patient with the parent and being knowledgeable about what we offer at our school towards special ed and what we offer as a general curriculum, those are effective things for parents. For regular education teachers, the principal has no real interaction with the co-teachers other than some observations. As long as everything is going okay at my school, you'll never hear anything from an administrator. You just won't. As long as everything's going fine, you won't hear anything about them. They'll say, hey, you guys are doing a good job with co-teach. I liked your lesson. I liked your observation. Here's this, this, and this. But outside of that, we don't hear anything. The paraprofessional, they have no interactions with the regular education teachers because they all do functional skills. There's just nothing that they do with a gen ed teacher. And for us, the biggest things and bigger interactions we have with regular ed teachers is, of course, in the co-teaching classroom, where I co-teach English 9 and English 10 classes throughout the day, and then discussing accommodations. A lot of times we have some seasoned teachers who take the IEPs that we give them, that we call them IEPs at a glance. They take them, they want to cover them with us. Some of them do. Some of them want to look over it, but others just want to make sure they're getting the accommodations done. And then other times, we might discuss grades or student behavior. But outside of that, unless it's your co-teacher, you don't have a lot of interaction with the gen ed teacher. Advice for a first-year administrator. Principals, they said they were guilty of not being as visible to special ed students and special ed classes as they would like. So they say try to be as visible as you can. Show support to the students. Show support to the teacher. Paraprofessionals said they would like to see an administrator take a more active role, maybe coming down and stepping into that functional skills class and spending a little time. Take a more active role in just stopping and talking to the students, having a conversation, having some interaction. For a SPED teacher, it's very important for them to be supportive, and but listening. We feel like sometimes that, again, like I said earlier, that we're an afterthought. So really, really listening to us and hearing what we have to say, because we're the one in the trenches every day and we know what works and what doesn't work. So being supportive and really listening to the advice we have. Now, we know they're bound by policy and various other things, but really, really listening to the information we have. The role of the SPED teacher and the building administrator, they believe really, for the most part, the SPED teacher should be competent in what they're supposed to be doing, and they should be resourceful. A lot of times we have to go find things and we have to manage situations that aren't an everyday thing. So that was the biggest thing that they believe. The paraprofessional believes that the administrator should really just let the SPED teacher do their job. Sometimes we get stuck in between here and there, being told to do certain things and not told to do certain things. And sometimes, the functional skills teachers have a very different role than say me, a classroom SPED teacher. But, just let us do our job, because you've hired us to be the professionals that we are. So just, let us do our job. And as a SPED teacher, we just really want support. We know what we're doing. We feel like we really understand what's going on, but just please, 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 we all just want a little more support. That's all we really would like. And the characteristics of an admin in special education, the principals all said, being knowledgeable and being attentive. Not just letting it pass by, not just having a blow-off attitude towards everything, just knowledge and being attentive to the teacher's needs. They said that would be a great characteristic to have. Paraprofessionals believe that being supportive of the special education department would be something that they really, really would like to see the most. And again, the SPED teacher being supportive and knowledgeable. It is very important for us as SPED teachers to believe that the principal knows something about special education. It's very frustrating when they don't, and a lot of times they don't. We don't feel like they can back us up if they don't understand what's going on. That's my presentation. Again, we struggled to get direct answers, and I had to kind of mix and match answers from other people, but we're in a unique situation in my school. It's a massive school and really, really, really different, unique set of kids there. So thank you for your time.